Hello and welcome everybody. My name's Rose Smith from AbsoluteSoulSecrets.com, and I want to talk about a few things that have been going on for me over the months actually, but certainly the past few weeks leading up to the US election. We also have my state elections here in the state of Queensland, Australia tomorrow. I have been hearing the word disappointment. I don't know if it is with regard to the elections or not, but disappointment is something that's been coming up for me for some months. And I'm sure I'm not the only one. I'm sure there's a lot of people in the world that are feeling very disappointed about something. So I decided I'd get it every now and again, and I sort of think, oh, okay. But lately, the last few weeks, it's been increasing. So I decided I'd have a look at it in spirit. So using a sort of meditation type technique that I came across in the early 1990s called Creative Visualization by Shakti Gawain. This is often a technique I used to use when I was counselling with people, and it works remarkably well. I'll give you an example. Probably about 20 years ago, I had writer's block. I had to write an article for a magazine and have it in by a certain date. And I sweated over it, and I just could not write this article. And so I did one of these meditations for creative visualization, and it was for writer's block. And I found out doing that the problem actually stemmed from my handwriting and getting in trouble at school, because I was left-handed, and I was also younger than most of the kids in my class. I went to school when I was 4, so I was behind everybody. So the hand-eye coordination wasn't very good, and so I found it hard to write. And so I just did this creative visualization, and yes, the writer's block, I got rid of that, but I got an extra bonus in that my handwriting improved. So now I can actually write neatly if I want to. There's no reason to. It takes a bit longer, so I tend not to, but I have the option now that I can write neatly. I was actually in 5th class when I was 10 years old. I was the last person in the class allowed to use a pen, because I only got 38 out of 100 for writing. And now, of course, I'm a writer. I write lots of things. So it's really, I've written my whole website, and there's thousands of pages there. And so, it's really quite remarkable how well this technique can work. So I want to go to the board now and just tell you a bit about it and some questions and what you can do yourself if you have a problem that you want to deal with. Okay, so now I started looking at this word disappointment a couple of weeks ago, and one day I was focused on it. I heard the word undersea quake, as in earthquake, and that has come up before in one of my other videos. I mentioned that I heard earthquake around the time of the US elections. So this time I heard undersea quake, and I could actually feel it reverberating through my body. So it was like I was attached to the earth, and I could feel those reverberations going out. So I don't know if there's an actual earthquake. Some people have actually spoken to me or communicated with me and suggested that they're getting similar, and suggested it might be an actual earthquake. It may not be, because I heard the words initially like an earthquake, and so I think it's the US election result. It's going to reverberate around the world. And what happens in the US affects the whole world, basically. So when I was focusing on this quake and feeling the reverberations, I heard the word disappointment again, as I had been for, on and off for some months. And then I saw in the back of my lungs was like this stone, and it was a big grey stone, sort of just sort of shaped like an oval like that. Okay, so once you get a visualization, which you may or may not, by the way, there's other ways of knowing things. So you may see something when you're using this technique. You may hear something. You may feel something in your physical body. These are all ways that you can use as roadways into healing yourself and roadways into this technique of creative visualization. If you want to go and research it, you find this works for you. Shakti Gawain is the person who wrote the book Creative Visualization in 1978. And I think I picked it up about 1994 and when I was counselling, and just helped so many people and myself. So back to the big stone in the back of my lungs called disappointment. Okay, and it was like dark charcoal grey. Okay, it wasn't blue, it was dark charcoal grey, and it's just sitting there on my spine, between my shoulder blades and down in the middle of my lungs. And so this was a huge weight I had been carrying. I didn't get to go back to where the original disappointment came from, but that is a question you would normally ask when you're doing this technique. So the first step that you do is you make yourself comfortable, okay, before you actually do this technique. It's really important that you feel relaxed, okay? You've got to feel safe and secure. I know some people say don't meditate in bed, but I always do, or quite regularly anyway. And the reason for that is, of course, you can go to sleep, but I always think if you go to sleep, you need to sleep. There's a reason. You just don't fall asleep for no reason. There's a reason. You might be exhausted, for example. Anyway, so make yourself comfortable. If sleeping is an issue for you, then perhaps seat yourself rather than lay down. Okay, so we want to get to the point where we're not asleep, but we're in that sort of limbo zone. Freud calls it the pre-conscious zone, and it's between being awake and being asleep. And that is a place of unlimited potentiality and possibility. So the pre-conscious zone, so you're alert, you're still in the room, and you're aware of noises and things going on, but it's just before you fall asleep. And when you're in this place, you'll tend to remember stuff that happens more. So, take a few deep breaths, seat yourself comfortably. Now, remember a moment ago I was talking about pathways into using this technique. So when you're seated there, you may become aware of something going on in your body. It could be like a vibration, it could be a discomfort or a pain or a sensation, or if you are particularly visual or you've got some clairvoyant ability, you might also start seeing things. Whatever happens, go with that, okay? So this is not about judging or cutting off experience. It's just being present to whatever experience is there at the time. And once something happens that you become aware of, that's your roadway into this visualization. So that's how I come to get the stone, okay, because I am clairvoyant, so I just saw it. But I did also have a pain in the back as well, and I was hearing that word disappointment. So some questions, once you become aware that there's something going on there, you can start to ask questions. So when you feel something, see something, know something in a certain area of your body, focus on that part of your body. Okay, focus on body part. Okay, and like I said, there could be a sensation or something like that that draws you there. Then you ask questions in your mind. Okay, you don't. So this is not verbal. This is all in your mind. Ask the energy questions. And these questions could be like, who are you? How long have you been there? Have you been there or here? Colour. Now, we in Australia, we use English, so it's O-U-R, not O-R. If you think I can't spell, it's because I'm actually writing English. Colour, D, size, A, B, C, D, E, temperature. Okay, so is it hot or cold? Warm? Questions like that. Shape. If you're particularly good at seeing things in your mind or being focused, you could actually sit up and write this down in a booklet like a journal when you get the answers to these sorts of questions. And you can think up, these are just examples of questions, but like in the case of this stone in the back of my lungs attached to my spine, charcoal grey, cold. Does it make a noise? No, it's quiet. Size, well, at the time it seemed big because it takes up a big part of the back of my back. So, size, big. How long have you been there? Forever. Okay, so it might be that it's not even to do with this life. It might be something that you bring over from, another lifetime, or it might be something you've inherited from your family tree. Okay, so the fact that this thing, I got the answer back forever. Okay, things that happen in this life are just triggering what was already there, and this is a weight. So after you've done that and you've got a few answers either through, hearing something, seeing something, feeling something, and when you first start this off, you might get the answer straight away, or you might have to focus on it for days or even weeks until you get down to being very proficient at using this technique. But once you get that, and drawing pictures of it too when you first start off, if you can't hold the visualization in your mind's eye, then you may need to, draw pictures even if you're not a very good artist like myself. And feel it. Imagine that you can feel what it feels like to be this thing. Once you get it to communicate, this is just a conglomeration of energy that has been with you, and once you get it to communicate, it's venting its energy, so it's actually losing power when it's communicating with you. And I find this so useful, this technique. It's amazing. So I didn't have to go too far with mine because I've done this literally thousands of times over decades. But the next morning I woke up because I did this as I was going to sleep. The next morning I woke up and I checked in. As soon as I was awake, I hadn't even opened my eyes, I checked in with this, and it had changed overnight. It was now a diamond sitting on my spine, and the diamond was like as big as my hand. So I thought, well, that's a pretty good result. That's all about crystal clear clarity, and it's something very valuable. So I was happy that it changed overnight. Interestingly, when I woke up and I got up, my whole back, shoulders and everything was stiff as anything. And I thought, oh gosh, I'll have to do some more work, something's happened. But as I moved around in the day, it got better and better. And now, that was about 3 days ago, now I feel very light in the back of the shoulders. And so what can happen is when you release an energy that's been trapped in your body, all of the other muscles and cells and everything in that area has to readjust and go into some sort of realignment. And of course that can be painful because your body's not used to not having that lot of energy there. So when that energy comes out in spirit and releases, all of the muscles and the fibres then have to readjust and move around. So yes, it's quite conceivable that after you do this technique for a couple of days, you may feel really strange, weird. It's 3 days since I've done it, and I've still got like little sparks flying up my back from where this thing was, So I would really recommend this technique. Go online. You'll find there's a whole lot of free PDFs available for creative visualization. So Australians and English people, please note it's with a Z because Shakti was American, and so visualization with a Z, So I find it's a great idea, as I said before, to write it all down in a journal. And especially in these COVID times, you've probably got more time to write things down. When I started doing this in my 20s, was it? No, maybe I was in my 30s. Then writing everything down, I used to spend hours every day writing everything down. And I did that for about 10 years. But it takes up so much time. So just, be sensible with it. You don't need to spend 2 or 3 hours a day like I was. But yeah, even if you allow half an hour for personal development in the morning, it's great to get into a routine, and then your subconscious sort of expects that every morning you're going to do some personal work. So just wanted to let you know about that, and to let you know how effective it is. Don't be surprised though around the election if there is something major like an earthquake. So it could be maybe a hurricane, or it could just be the election results reverberating out into the world. But please do take care on election day and around that time, because it's a very sensitive time in the ether. Because there's so much emotion. People have so much emotion about the US elections in particular. We don't get like that very much in Australia, even though, we have our elections and the state election. Yeah, there's ads on TV. I have not heard one person talk about our state election. I think I said one sentence about it to my husband, because one party is telling a lot of lies which were not true at all in their ads. And I think I said one sentence. So we've got a whole sort of different kind of view in Australia about politics generally and elections. It's not the great big huge thing. And the other thing that I found out that we do that's different, it's very normal here when we have an election, people do postal votes, and it's, postal voting has been available for a very long time. I think it's been decades. But it's like a social event. So when you go to vote, everybody has like a local polling station, and it's very normal for charities and schools and all sorts of groups of people to put on like a cake stand. And so you go to vote, so you can buy cakes like lamingtons or vanilla slice, or maybe even meat pies and things like that. And it's kind of like a social thing to go to your local polling station and say hello to your neighbours and stuff like that. Yeah, so that'll be us tomorrow. Okay, well, have a wonderful week, everybody, and I shall see you again soon. Please subscribe to my channel here, TrUth.REALity.YoU, and hit that notification bell. And don't forget to check out my sister channel, Absolute Soul Secrets, for tarot readings and horoscopes. Thanks again, and bye for now.
There's a beautiful day headed your way. Keep your head